Welcome to the Re-Entry Archive. Literally thrown out of my own mind. A Psilocybin experience report. Taken from erowid.org. Mind and body set. Overworked and sleepy, though no bad thoughts or experience have happened recently. Setting, my room, alone. Prep, none to very little. I didn't eat 8 hours before the experience. A little about myself. I am 21 years old, and I have quite a long history of drug use. About a year ago, I started experimenting with psychedelics, like mushrooms or Salvia divinorum, and since then, I have had at least 8 trips with mushrooms. Most of the time, I would trip at a friend's house. 2 of these trips have been outside in public, and I have had a high dose experience of at least 3.5 grams. But I wanted to get out of this drug using mindset of having fun and see if I could use mushrooms as a tool for exploring my own mind and psyche. The first time tripping alone, I started with 0.5 grams of golden teacher mushrooms. It was a very, very mild trip, and this time I wanted to go deep. So I took 2.2 grams of dried mushrooms, and this is what happened. 10:30 p.m. Mushrooms cooked as a tea and ingested. 11 p.m. I started feeling little bits of the mushroom, but not harsh. Talking to my trip buddy on the telephone, waiting for it to kick in. 11:20. I really do start feeling the heavy effects of my dose. I hung up the phone and turned on some music and kept staring at my computer, waiting for the right time to lie down on my bed and start exploring. At this point, the distortion of reality started pretty quickly, and I started seeing patterns that I always see when I ingest mushrooms. Objects were morphing, walls were breathing heavily, and lighting up in different colours. At this point, I was really tired, so I decided to lie down on my bed and turn off my computer, give it a go within my own mind. Midnight. Just past midnight, I went and lay down on my bed and turned on the TV without sound, so that if I started to panic, I could have some kind of reality I could pretty much just turn on. For me, TV is the only thing that never goes into the trip and kind of brings me back to reality. I close my eyes, and this is when it starts to get intense. 12:10 a.m. With my eyes closed and music turned off, I start hearing voices and sounds and music in my head. I could at this point still tell it wasn't real, as I started drifting away deep into my own mind. I saw patterns and tunnels and faces, though I could not tell whose face or what kind of face I was seeing. After what seemed like at least an hour, I was flying through a tunnel. It kind of reminded me of my arteries that run through my body, as if I was starting to go on a voyage, finding my deepest psychedelic mind. After flying for what felt like 10 minutes, I took a left turn into a tunnel, and boom! It was like hitting a brick wall, as if I turned into a path where the door was closed, and I just ran right into the door. The last thing I remember at the point was the door. It was black with red dots Right when I hit it, a really obnoxious, loud, buzzing sound was heard, and it felt as if my brain was being vibrated, and my heart stopped for a second. I then sat up in my bed, literally thrown out of my own mind, as if I'd had a bad dream and had just woken up. Possibly the most unpleasant sound and feeling I had ever had or heard in my whole life. I then looked at the clock, thinking it had to have been at least an hour. I was wrong. 12:15. Shocked at what had happened, I didn't really understand or know how to interpret what had happened. While thinking about this, I turned off the sound of the TV and turned around, because I wanted to give it another go. Closing my eyes, I started drifting away into a world of patterns, shapes and sounds. A lot of vivid thoughts came through, and then again I started flying through tunnels of some kind inside my own body. I guess I was back on the way down deep into my own mind. Maybe it was some kind of tunnels in my brain. I couldn't really control where I was flying either. I was just trying not to think about fighting it and let the mushroom take over. Maybe because I was trying to fight it the first time, I hit the door so hard and shot out of it. Anyway, flying through the tunnels of my own brain or mind, again for what seemed like hours, I then took a right turn and hit the same door. Exactly the same door as last time. Same noise, and the same waking out of it like a panic. Shocked and scared. Didn't know what was happening. And time was not passing either. It seemed like hours again, and only 5 minutes had passed. 12:20. I lit a cigarette and turned the TV sound on, trying to find some kind of reality to take my mind off what had just happened. I started to watch TV and realised that nothing made sense. This is when I lost it and really started panicking. I got the phone and called my trip buddy. I tried to explain what had just happened, and he calmed me down. I didn't know what was going on anymore. He told me to get some food from downstairs and something to drink, and just sit with him and talk. I got a glass of milk and a piece of toast, knowing I probably wasn't going to be able to eat anyway. Going downstairs, I noticed that I could hardly walk. Talking to my trip buddy really helped a lot. From the outside view of my room, it didn't help at all. I was still having a really heavy time, and visual distortion, even seeing things that were not quite there, lights and things like that. 1 AM. At this point, I'd calmed down to the point I was starting to be okay again, and almost ready to be on my own. 1:30. I got myself another glass of milk and a whole bunch of cigarettes, and sat in front of the TV. I hung up the phone, telling my buddy that I was okay to be on my own. The effects had reduced to the point that slowly, really slowly, things started to make sense on TV. 2 AM. Trying to pass the time smoking one cigarette after another, watching TV and laughing. I was just scared of falling back into that deep trance-like state and hitting that closed door again. I tried to stay awake as long as I could, watching TV, but at some point, it happened again. The sound and that feeling. This time, it was a lot less harsh though, just like a little rude wake-up. This time I wasn't deep into the experience anymore. I shook it off and kept watching TV. 4 AM. I think the effects were mostly gone now, just a slight afterglow. 4:30. I think I'm ready to go to sleep, but kind of scared of still hitting something while drifting away. 4:45. I fell asleep, I guess. All in all, I have had a bad trip before, walking out in public and getting lost, but this was way worse. The places where my mind went were just really weird, and time would not pass. At this point, I don't know when I'll do mushrooms again, but I do know I will never do them unprepared and tired again, and probably not alone. I think the door with the buzzing noise that I was talking about was maybe a door I could not yet open. That's probably the difference between really experienced users and me, not experienced. Perhaps it's the doors that real shamans can open. Or maybe it's something that I don't want to see behind. It kind of freaks me out thinking what might have been there if I'd opened the door. You don't have to have lived through an experience to learn from it. So let's take a few moments to reflect upon what this journey might mean. This is a wonderful example of a challenging psychedelic experience, and it ends with a series of insightful integration prompts being considered by the traveller. This traveller went into the experience hoping for depth and self-exploration, and this is exactly what they got. They flew through a network of interconnected organic tunnels, likely symbolising a journey into the subconscious, through the corridors of the mind. They reached a black door and collided with it before being cast out of the experience. What could lay beyond this sealed threshold, found within the subconscious? Suppressed elements of the psyche? Deeply repressed traumas or fears? This is for the traveller to know. The red lights on the door indicate danger, or perhaps a reminder to stay alert, or a warning about what lays beyond. The traveller experienced a buzzing sensation upon reaching the door. Buzzing, or a vibrational sensation, is often reported upon ego death. Perhaps what lays beyond is the dissolution of the ego. Finding themselves unable to cross through the door, the traveller was thrown out of the experience, an unconscious defence mechanism stopping them from taking the next step. Perhaps this is the ego signalling that it is not yet ready to dissolve. Perhaps the guardian is protecting the psyche from experience or revelation it is not yet ready for. What is this door hiding? This is the question that remains, and this is the work that has been left for the traveller. This experience also highlights the importance of set and setting. The traveller admits that going into this experience they were aware both their set and setting were poor. Perhaps this was an indication they should have postponed this trip. Challenging experiences can still occur even when set and setting are perfect, but being inappropriately prepared certainly increases the risks of encountering a challenging, difficult, or disorientating experience. The aim should always be to set yourself up to get the most out of these experiences. If you knew that the experience was going to reveal transformative information, and life-changing knowledge, how would you prepare yourself? Terence McKenna referred to the psychedelic experience as the long and strange journey. These are your experiences, and this is your journey. You should at least make the basic preparations before stepping foot out of the door. But really, you should do more than that. When rolling the dice of chaos, any number can come up. Anything can happen. As best you can, you need to prepare for any eventuality.